Let me ask you something honestly. If someone put $1,000 in your hand right now, cash, no conditions, what would you actually do with it? If your first thought was to spend it, I don't blame you. That is what the world around you is designed to make you do. Every ad, every notification, every buy now, pay later option is built to separate you from your money as fast as possible. But here's the thing that nobody told me when I was broke in my 20s. $1,000 is not a small amount of money. It only feels small because of what most people do with it. Used correctly, $1,000 in your 20s is not $1,000. It is the beginning of a system. And that system, if you leave it alone, will quietly turn into something that changes the entire trajectory of your financial life. I know that sounds like the kind of thing financial gurus say before they try to sell you a course. So let me be specific. Let me show you exactly what I would do step by step. If I were 22 years old, broke and starting from zero today, no fluff, no theory, just what I would actually do. The first thing I would do before I touched a single investing app is understand why your 20s are different from every other decade of your life. You have something right now that is worth more than money. You have time, and time, when it comes to money, does something almost magical. It compounds. Here's what compounding actually means in real numbers. If you invest $1,000 at age 22 and it grows at 10% per year, which is roughly the long-term average of the stock market, by the time you're 52, that $1,000 has become over $17,000. You did nothing except leave it alone. Wait until you're 32 to invest that same $1,000. By 52, it is worth around $60,700, and you lost $10,000 in future wealth, not because you made a bad investment, just because you waited 10 years. Every single month you delay investing in your 20s has a cost. It is invisible, which is why most people ignore it, but it is real, and it adds up to a number that would genuinely shock you if you sat down and calculated it. I did not understand this when I was 22. I thought investing was for people who already had money, real money. I had a job, I was spending everything I made, and I kept telling myself I would start when things got more stable. What I did not realize was that waiting was already a decision, a very expensive one I was choosing without knowing it, to hand my future self a much harder problem. So before we get into the strategy, I need you to understand one thing. The point of $1,000 is not the $1,000. The point is starting today, not next month, today. Okay, so here's exactly how I would split that $1,000. The first $200 goes to something most people skip, a small emergency buffer. I know that is not exciting, but here's why it matters. If you invest money and then an emergency happens, a car repair, a medical bill, gap between jobs, and you have no buffer, you will be forced to pull money out of your investments at the worst possible time. Markets go down, sometimes significantly. If your investment drops 20% and you need cash immediately, you have to sell at a loss. That $200 buffer is not dead money, it is protection. It is what keeps a small financial emergency from destroying your investing plan before it even starts. $200 is not a full emergency fund, but it is enough to absorb most small shocks, build it up over time. For now, it gives you a foundation. The next $500 goes into a low-cost index fund. This is the core of the strategy. An index fund holds a small piece of hundreds of companies at once. When the overall market grows, your money grows. You're not betting on one company, you're betting on the economy as a whole, which over long periods of time has always gone up. The most important word there is low cost. Some funds charge 1% or 2% in annual fees. That sounds tiny. But over 30 years, a 1% fee can quietly consume more than 25% of your total returns. I would only use funds with fees below 0.2%. There are excellent options available today that charge far less than that. I would set this up on an investing app. There are several solid ones now, and I would immediately set up an automatic monthly contribution, even if it is just 20 or 30 salsas a month going forward, because the habit is more powerful than the amount. You want investing to happen automatically, not as a decision you have to make every month when you might talk yourself out of it. The next $200 I would put into myself. This one surprises people every time I say it. But stay with me. In your 20s, the highest return investment you can make is almost always in your own ability to earn. A course that gets you promoted, a certification that opens a new income stream, a skill that directly makes you more valuable in the market. If $200 in a skill or qualification leads to a $2,000 salary increase, that is a 1,000% return in a single year. No stock market index will ever do that. This category gets ignored because it does not look like investing. There's no app for it, no chart tracking your progress. But the returns are real, and they are often the highest available to you at this stage of your life. The last $100 I would use to learn by doing, I would put it into individual stocks or a specific asset I wanted to understand better. Not because I expect this $100 to outperform the index. I don't. I expect it to teach me, and it will in a way no book or video ever can. When real money is on the line, you pay attention differently. You start actually reading about companies. You notice how your emotions shift when prices drop. You learn what kind of investor you are. $100 is the cheapest tuition available. The education you get from it is worth far more than that. So the full split, $200 emergency buffer, $500 index fund, $200 into a skill, $100 into learning by doing. And I know what some of you are thinking, that is never going to make me rich. And you're right, not on its own, but this is not really about $1,000. This is about what $1,000 teaches you to do with $5,000, and then $20,000, and eventually $100,000. The amount at this stage is almost irrelevant. The system and the habits are everything. Now, I want to talk about the things that will destroy you, because in your 20s, avoiding the wrong moves matters just as much as making the right ones. The first trap is trying to get rich fast. Crypto schemes, penny stocks, someone online promising you 10x returns in 60 days. I'm not saying these things can never work. I'm saying the odds are not in your favor, and the people promoting them are almost always making money from your attention or from your investment, not from the investment itself. The real cost of chasing a shortcut is not just losing the money, it is losing the compounding time those years represent. Lose $1,000 at 22 in a bad speculation, and you have not just lost $1,000, you've potentially lost $17,000 by age 52. That is what is actually at stake every time you gamble with your investing years. The second trap is waiting for the perfect moment. I've known people who said they were waiting for the market to dip before they invested. Some of them are still waiting. The market dipped. They still did not invest because then they were worried it would dip more. Meanwhile, the market recovered, then grew, and they sat in cash the whole time while inflation quietly ate into the real value of their savings. The research on this is overwhelming. Time in the market beats timing the market. Almost every time, almost every study, the perfect moment to invest does not exist. The best moment is whatever moment you're actually in right now. The third trap is investing money you're going to need soon. Markets can drop 20%, 30%, even 40% in a short period of time. It happens. If you invest money you need for rent next month or a big expense you know is coming, you will be forced to sell at exactly the wrong time. Keep short-term money in cash. Only invest money you genuinely will not need for at least 3 to 5 years. That is not a suggestion. That is the rule. I want to end on something that I think is more important than any of the tactics I have shared today. Most people in their 20s are not broke because they earn too little. They are broke because the world they are living in is specifically and deliberately designed to make them spend everything they earn before they can think about keeping any of it. Every app, every platform, every social feed is showing you a version of life you're supposed to want, and want immediately. The new phone, the holiday, the clothes, the lifestyle that signals to other people that you're doing well. And the easiest way to signal that you're doing well is to spend money doing it. Investing is the exact opposite instinct. It is saying, I'm going to take something real today and deliberately make it unavailable to myself so that future me can have something better that is uncomfortable, especially when everything around you is saying spend it. Now, the people who come out of their 20s in a completely different financial position are not the ones who earn the most. They are the ones who got just comfortable enough with that discomfort to let their money sit, to not cash it out when the market dropped, to not drain it for a weekend they would forget in 3 months. That is a skill, and like every skill, you build it by starting small. $1,000 is the perfect amount to start with. Small enough that the mistakes will not break you. Real enough that the lessons will stick. So here's where we land. Your 20s are the most powerful financial years of your life. Not because you will earn the most, because the time you have right now will never be available to you again. Every year you wait, compound interest loses another year to work for you. $200 to protect yourself. $500 into a low-cost index fund with automatic contributions going forward, $200 into a skill that grows your income, $100 into learning by doing. That is the whole plan. Do not wait until you have more. Do not wait for the right moment. Do not wait until things settle down. Start now with whatever you have. 10 years from now, the version of you that started today will look back at this moment and be genuinely grateful. Make sure that version of you exists. If this was useful, subscribe. I put out videos like this every single week.